The Giant in our city is probably the most prestigious recognition that a business leader in Utah can get.
What receiving this award means is that the people that you've worked with in this community, your peers, have looked at what you've done and said, you've made a difference.
He was born and raised in Cache Valley, specifically River Heights, and I think he still considers that his home. He still feels like that is the place that made him who he is today.
We had a great Leave It to Beaver type of childhood growing up, both of us. Ron just seemed to be a person that always was friendly to other people. People liked Ron. He was very popular in school growing up.
The first time I met Ron was when he was running for a student body officer. And my friend sitting next to him, we hadn't met because we came from different junior highs, but she said, "Oh, vote for Ronnie Jibson, he's really cute."
He started dating Janet quite early in high school, and it was Ron and Janet all the time.
They were high school sweethearts, I guess you could say. They dated there at Skyview High and stayed together ever since.
Our first date, he walked me up to the door and he stood around, and I knew he wants to kiss me, but he just can't do it. So all of a sudden he leans in, gives me a kiss, turns around, falls off my steps into these bushes. And I actually walked right in the house. I thought, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't even see that.
Ron and Janet always liked each other in high school, and it was a hard decision for Ron to go on a mission because he knew he'd have to leave Janet.
We first started dating and he was definitely going to go on a mission. The second year, he wasn't sure, and the third year, no, he's gonna stay home, we're gonna get married. Then all of a sudden his friends started getting their mission calls, and he went to the bishop, said, "I want to go, but get me out of here quick." He went really fast after that.
Ron went to Kentucky on his mission.
I served as mission president from 1972 to 75, and he came out in the first few weeks of my mission.
And later I read a book that George Durant wrote about his son that mentioned Ron being the type of elder that his son looked up to and wanted to be like.
Our oldest son, who was 15 when we went, we lived in Salt Lake City, and he was going to play basketball for his high school, and he was happy. And then I announced to him we were going away for 3 years to go on a mission to Kentucky. His great hope was to make the basketball team. Kentucky's not a good place to come if you want to make a basketball team. He decided he would go out for basketball, and he got cut. It devastated him. And we talked a long time late at night, and then he said, I'm going to be like Elder Jibson. I says, I'm going to start to smile like Elder Jibson and use my sense of humor like he uses his. And cares about people, and the results were remarkable. And so he acted like Elder Jibson, and a year later he was elected student body president. My son's the Chief Justice of the Utah State Supreme Court. It all started when my son made the decision to follow in the footsteps of Elder Jibson.
He was a leader back then on his mission, just like he is now, and I think that kind of set the pace for his life.
I was amazed how many letters he did write me. But always in the letters, right at the end, he'd always say, "Now, how's Janet? Have you seen Janet? What's Janet doing?" Because she was dating during that time.
At one time, his sister and I were even dating the same guy. That was kind of not cool, but no, we were from that small town of Logan. You knew everything that was going on with everybody else. And so I think his family kept an eye on me.
His first concern was checking on Janet. Another thing that he wanted me to do when he came home was take him out and buy him clothes. He wanted the new look-in clothes, and I still remember the outfit we bought him.
About a week after his mission, he was engaged to Janet. Ron asked me to be in his line as his best man on his wedding day on December 11th, and I asked him to be my best man on December 12th, but he denied because he wanted to go on a honeymoon.
And I was just so excited. My little brother had found such a wonderful wife, and they were so happy together.
So my dad went on to graduate from Utah State University in civil engineering. And from there, he's grown very fond of the university, and he's always been very involved and still involved to this day to a great extent.
I was actually working right after we got married up at Utah State when Ron was going to school there. And it was fun because we were both on campus, could meet for lunch, things like that. We lived in a trailer there, and our kids often call us trailer trash.
Yeah, our dads always loved Utah State. He, from the youngest age I can remember, we've always been Utah State fans.
And that wasn't always the easiest thing in the world because, as you know, the Aggies have been pretty competitive in football recently. But there was a long time there that we would cheer for touchdowns, not wins. He was one of those that kept reminding us that we were Aggies before anything else.
Following his graduation from Utah State in civil engineering, he went to work for the state of Utah doing engineering work.
And then he had a friend from Questar contact him and say, hey, they're hiring engineers over at Questar, you should come over. So we interviewed and went to work there. It's been a wonderful career. They have treated him so well. He's loved the people he's worked with there.
Growing up, my dad was always known as, you know, the Questar guy. He's been with Questar a long time. And he started in civil engineering and worked his way up from director of engineering to, you know, managing certain offices, to general manager, to, you know, being over at Questar Gas, to eventually being the CEO and chairman of the board of Questar at this point.
Ron is somebody who is highly respected by all of the people at Questar Corporation.
We named Ron Jibson CEO of Questar back in July 2010. I had told the board at that time that I intended to retire. So the Questar board had to name a CEO of both the spin-off company and the new Questar. So our board decided to run a two-step process, and we'd hire a headhunter to do this. In step one, we'd evaluate our internal candidates. We had 3. And then in step 2, we'd broaden the search, generate a list of external candidates and compare them to our internal candidate. But at the end of phase 1, the headhunter came back and told the board, in his judgment, we really didn't need to do step 2. We had good internal candidates, and one in particular stood out. That was Ron Jibson. And then he told us 2 anecdotes that sealed the deal for the board. The first was, at the end of his interview with Ron, he asked Ron for some references. And he said that Ron had paused, then reached onto his desk, grabbed a copy of the employee phone book for our utility, Questar Gas, handed it to the headhunter and said, here are my references. There are about 1,000 names in this book. Call anyone you want, call them all. Ask them anything you want. The headhunter also told us that the other 2 candidates, while honored to be considered, both independently said that they believed Ron Jibson was the right guy for the job.
He was the right guy because of the concern that he's always demonstrated for the people there and for the deep knowledge he has of the company.
I think those who have worked with him or have known him are going to first of all think of him as a friend, as a champion and a coach that helped them in their career.
He's somebody who leads by doing. He's low-key, he's self-effacing. There's a humility about Ron that everybody who knows him loves.
My dad's always been the type of leader that shows by example. He would never ask anybody to do something that he wouldn't do himself.
He's one of those guys that if something needs to be done, he's who you look to. If there's a problem, he can be the one that will help solve it.
I think he was kind of a born leader. People just congregated around him. They loved to be around him.
Ron has a leadership style that's very inclusive, tries to bring out the best in those that work for him or work with him.
He had a real ability to rally people around him and to make people have confidence in what he was trying to do.
You know, I first met Ron, it was in Washington, D.C., and it was about a business transaction. And I'd never met him before. I had no idea if the meeting was going to last 15 minutes or what exactly we would talk about. It lasted about 2.5 hours. And the one conclusion I drew out of that meeting was that this man was one of the most decent people I've ever met.
You walk out of the room after you've had a conversation with Ron knowing that Ron listened, that he valued your opinion, and that he would weigh your input on that decision.
The one thing that was great about Ron is people not only respected him, but they liked him. Ron could be tough when he had to, and he could make tough decisions about people when he had to. But people respected those decisions, and they knew they could trust him.
I think Ron Jibson is a master at building relationships. He does it based on trust, earned trust, and he maintains that trust. with his customers, with his colleagues, with the community as a whole.
I think it's always been important for my dad to be involved in the community. He's always wanted to try to do his part to make it a little better.
He always has taught us that we take care of the places we live, take care of the people that live next to us, take care of those in our community, and give back.
Whether it's helping other people, or he's been so involved with whether Junior Achievement, United Way, all those kind of things.
He's been involved and active in many of the local community organizations.
You know, trade organizations, American Gas Association, Western Energy Institute, a number of different associations or organizations.
He is one of those that has lots of ideas, and people can brainstorm from his ideas and run with things, but he likes to help.
With how busy he's been with work, with continuing his education, all those kinds of things, he never forgot that he was a husband and he was a father.
Ron has always been an excellent father. From when our kids were just young, still in diapers, he would take them fishing, hunting with him, just loved to be outdoors with his sons.
I don't think anyone ever felt like we took a backseat to his professional goals or pursuits that way, that he always made us feel like that we were the priority.
He was always there for us, whether it was for me or my brothers, the different sports teams, the different activities, the outdoors.
Whether that's hunting or fishing or camping or backpacking, whatever it might be.
I think people will always know my dad as a fun guy. He has a sense of adventure. He likes to have fun. I heard one of his good friends say one time, any near-death experience I've ever had has involved your dad.
We were salmon fishing up in Alaska, and Ron tied into something. It bent his pole over double. And he fought that thing for about 20 minutes. And he was claiming all along, all right, get the net ready, get the net ready. This is going to be the biggest one he caught. So he finally was able to bring it up and crank it up, and he had hooked the biggest rock you have ever seen.
I think our dad is so deserving of this award.
To our family, Ron's always been a giant to us, but for him to receive this Giant in the City Award, it's like, wow, everybody sees how wonderful he is, like we've always known.
The fact that my dad is sitting here tonight feeling so uncomfortable with people here saying nice things about him says a lot about the type of person that he is.
He's the first guy that he would admit he doesn't want the spotlight on him.
I think he's deserving of this award, as he's the type that is not out campaigning for something like this.
Dad would like to tell you congratulations on receiving the Giant in our City Award.
We've always known that you're a giant.
We're proud of you, we love you, and we can't thank you enough for all that you've done for us.
Congratulations, great job.
It couldn't happen to a nicer person. I'm really excited.
I just think the world of you, and I really want to congratulate you and tell you that I really appreciate your friendship.
And as I look at you and what you've accomplished, I think you very much deserve to receive this award, and you've made a great contribution.
As an industry leader, as a community leader, and most importantly, as a trusted friend.
You've made a tremendous difference, and thank you.
And I can't think of anyone more deserving. And Janet, I want to thank you. You've been stellar in your role as First Lady of Questar, and your contributions to the community have been central to the reason why we're here honoring Ron tonight.
We are so deeply grateful for all the contributions both of you have made to this community, to a great company, Questar, and to the state of Utah.
Ron and Janet, thank you. Great job. Well done.